Hey, welcome, it's Cassie. Today we're going to make some fake pumpkin pies. So the first thing that you'll need for your pie is a pie pan and preferably one with a little round that fits in here like this. I got this at Dollar Tree and they came 3 in a set, so it's a pretty good deal. So I'm just going to put the round in there. And I put the shiny side down just because stuff doesn't stick as well to that surface. And then I'm just going to press down the edge here around the whole thing. And I made sure to get this nice and flat because when I put my crust on here and stuff, I don't want anything really like sticking up. Next, you'll need some foam clay. Okay, so condition your foam clay and then just roll it into a ball. And then we're going to flatten it out on the wax paper and then just roll it out with the rolling pin. And try to keep it in kind of a circular shape so that we can make it to fit the pie pan. And it doesn't have to be very thick. We're just going to use this to look like the pumpkin pie part. So the thinner the better, because then you're not wasting a bunch of clay. Okay, so now I'm just going to take my pie pan and I'm going to sit it on here and kind of press it a little bit so it'll make the mark of my pan on there. And now I'm just going to cut around that toward the inside. Because we don't need it to necessarily go out past the edge. And I'm just cutting this with scissors. It's super easy to cut your foam clay with scissors. Just make sure your excess pieces don't go back and touch your piece that you want to keep. Otherwise, it'll get all stuck together. Okay. So I'm just going to make sure that I get this so that it covers the whole cardboard piece there, and it does. So I'm good with that. So now what I'm going to do is take this foam adhesive. I got this at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to glue my clay to my pan. And this stuff does expand a little bit, so don't get too close to the edge with it, or you'll be able to see you'll see it coming out around the edge of your project. Okay, so now I want to give my pumpkin pie a little bit of texture, so I'm going to use my toothbrush and I'm just going to texture it up a little bit. And keep in mind, when you texture with the foam clay, a lot of the texture is going to pop back out, like it just springs back out. So you can go a little bit harder than what you think you would want because it'll end up popping back out anyway. Okay, so now let's mix up our paint for this. So the main color for the pumpkin pie is orange. So I'm going to use Harvest Orange as the main color here. And then I'm going to darken it up with some Territorial Beige. I'm going to mix that around and take a look at it and see what I want to do from there. So I think this needs some yellow in it to brighten it up a little bit and give it more of that realistic color. So I'm just using Apple Barrel Yellow. Okay, so I think that is looking pretty good there. So I'm going to go ahead and paint my foam, my clay. And you'll probably have to do 2 coats of this to get it to cover completely. Oh, I forgot to say also, if you want to make your pie have like cracks in it, And sometimes it'll crack kind of around the edge here. You can use a toothpick and just do this and make your little cracks around the edge. Now for my second coat of paint, I'm going to add some gloss Mod Podge to this paint mixture because I want the top of my pumpkin pie to be a little bit glossy because that's how the real thing looks. So I'm just going to add some Mod Podge to my mixture, and then that way I don't have to do a separate coat of gloss on it. It'll just be mixed in with the paint and I won't have to worry about it. And then once I have the paint on there with my brush, I like to take my finger and just smear it around so that it doesn't have brush strokes in it, because the brush strokes are going to make it look fake. Now I'm going to put this aside to dry and we'll work on the crust. So for my crust, I'm going to use my foam clay again. And this time I'm going to mix some Territorial Beige into the clay and a little bit of yellow. And then just mix that around until it's not streaky anymore. All the paint's mixed in and a nice solid color. Okay, so now I want to get this ready. So I'm just going to kind of roll it out into a snake. And I want to make sure that it will go all the way around my pie pan. And roll it out to whatever thickness you want the edge of your crust to be. It can be, you know, you don't want it to be too super thick. So however you like the crust to be around your pie. For this one, I'm going to do a pinched crust. So I'm just going to use my fingers and pinch all the way around. You can smush it with a fork and make little fork marks all along the edge, or however you want it to look. We're also going to add some other fancy details to it too, but this will be our starting point. So now I've measured out the length that I need for my pie pan. So I'm going to take the rest of this and I'm going to make some little fancy decorations for this. So I'm going to make mine little pumpkins, and I have this little, I think it's a 1-inch cutter. I got it in a set. If you have like a little leaf cutter, you could do that. So I'm just going to roll this out pretty thin, like the thickness of a pie crust would be. And then I'm going to dip my little cutter into some cornstarch just to make sure that it the clay doesn't stick in there. And then these just have a little hole that I can pop out the little pumpkin. And I want to add some details to my little pumpkins instead of just leaving them plain like this. So I'm going to add some lines with a toothpick. Now, as always, I didn't let this dry all the way. It'll be a lot easier if you let it dry all the way so you don't have to worry about your paint getting everywhere, but I'm just going to go with it here. So then just put your crust right around the edge. And don't worry about whether it's sticking or not. We're gonna glue this down. So just get it on there and then we'll glue it. Okay, then I'm just gonna go ahead and pinch it. So basically I'm just squeezing my fingers together and kind of pulling some of the clay in between my fingers. Okay, so now I'm going to take my foam adhesive again, and I'm just going to go around and put some spots underneath there just to hold it in place. Again, just be careful because it will expand, so you don't want it coming out from under your edge of your pie. So now I'm going to shade this crust and then we'll add the little pumpkins. So I'm going to use my usual shading color. I'm going to use Territorial Beige, Harvest Orange, and Yellow in equal parts. And then I'm going to get a lot of the paint off of my brush so that I can dry brush the crust. And then I'll just lightly go across the crust. Now, because these are the same colors that we use for the pumpkin part, just make sure your color looks different than that. So if it, like you can see I start brushing and it kind of looks the same. So I added a little more brown to my mixture so that I can get a different color for the crust, which that looks a lot better now. Just one little thing like that can make a big difference. If you guys want to learn how to make the coolest realistic fake apple pie, I have the tutorial in my shop. We actually made it in my VIP group. If you're not in there, you should come join us. We're having such a good time. I'm like really stepping up the tutorials in there. And I'll put a link to my shop where you can get the apple pie tutorial if you want to. And I'll also link to the VIP group if you want to check that out too. It's we do a lot more in-depth tutorials in there. Like I show multiple ways to make things, or we'll do a whole plate of food instead of just one item. So we're going a little above and beyond what I can do on my channel here. All right, so now we'll put little pumpkins on, and these should just stick because my clay is still wet for both pieces, so they should just stick together. If you find that they're not, just stick a little of that foam glue behind there. So I'm going to put my pumpkins like right up next to each other, but you could space them out however you want. I'll also link up to this set of cutters that I got with this little pumpkin in it. I got it on Amazon, and it'll be in the materials list in the description. Okay, and now I need to shade these with the same color that I did for the crust. So just go ahead and do that. And now it's time for the best part of the pie, the whipped cream. So I'm going to use my Fast and Final lightweight spackling. And I'm just going to put, this is a 1M piping tip that I'm going to use. So I'm going to slide that into my piping bag. And then I'm just going to mark right where the bottom of the holes in the tip are so I can cut there. And then just slide the tip in. And make sure that your spackle looks like this color, like nice and white. Some of them look a little bit gray. I think they've been improving them lately, but if yours looks gray, put some white acrylic paint in and mix it around and get it to a nice white color. So for the whipped cream, you could just put a dollop in the center if you want. You could do some going all around the edge and then one in the center, or just around the edge. You know, do whatever you want, however you think you would like it to look. I think I'll put some around the edges because, you know, I like to be extra. So just swirl it around a little. Try to space them evenly as you can. And that's all there is to it. You have a fake pumpkin pie ready for fall and Thanksgiving. So I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video.